Hey family, it's Julian Gordon here, and welcome to the Spiritual Experience. So happy to have you here today. I know this is starting a little bit early. I want to try something different. We've been trying to integrate music into our ministry, and so I want to play a song 5 minutes before we actually get started at 11 that is relevant to today's teaching. And so I think you'll love this song that I've chosen because it is perfect for what we are discussing today. So let me bring it up and I hope it just gets you in the vibration of what we've been studying. We're continuing part two of our word study on love. And so I want to share this song while we wait for others to come and join us at 11. All right. So hopefully you can hear it today. And let's see. Here we go. Everybody hear that?
Love, there's so many things I've got to tell you, but I'm afraid I don't know how. Cause there's a possibility that you look at me differently, love. Ever since the first moment I spoke your name, from then on, I knew that by you being in my life, things were destined to change. Cause love, so many people use your name, babe. Love, those who have faith in you sometimes go astray. Love. Through all the ups and downs, the joys and hurts, love, for better or worse, I still will choose you first. Oh, oh. Many days I've longed for you, wanting you, hoping for the chance to get to know you. Longing for your kiss, for your love, your presence. Many nights I've cried from the things you do. Felt like I could die from the thought of losing you. Know that you're real, with no doubts and no fears and no questions. Yes, so many people. Oh, many people. Oh, no, 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 I think. Oh, sounds yeah, yeah. Sent out. Oh, love, I still will choose you first. At first, you didn't mean that much to me, but now I know you all I need. Oh, the world looks new to me. Now that I'm every day I live for you. Yeah. And everything that I do it for you. What I say what I feel, so believe it's true. You got to know I'm true. Oh, baby. Oh, yeah, oh, baby. Somehow I'm straight. Sex. Yeah, yeah. Better work.
All right. All right, all right. So that was Music Soul Child Love. And it wasn't until I think I was in my 30s that I realized that I think he was actually talking about God. If you go and you listen to that song differently now and recognize that he's actually talking about God and not just romantic relationships, that song becomes even more and more powerful. And as I've listened to some other R&B songs, I recognize that when you replace God with love, that the song actually, or excuse me, when you replace love with God, the song actually becomes more powerful. And so I wanted to anchor us in that vibration of love. So many people use the name of love in vain because we don't understand it. And that's what we're seeking to do here with our word study on love. This is part two. This week, if you missed part one, you need to go back and watch it. In part one, we actually went through all of Yeshua's quotes, all the red text on love, and we were seeking to triangulate the truth. And we got a lot of divine downloads and insights and revelations. And so I'm excited to continue that study. I realized that we were going to have to break that study into two because it was so, so dense. And love is central, essential. Number one, the top, what we call three commandments, which is love thy Lord thy God with all thy heart, mind, and soul, right? And love thy neighbor as thyself. The third commandment implied, which is love thyself, is really, really key there. And we know that love is central to Yeshua's teachings and that everything hinges on this concept of love. So to rush that and try to squeeze that into 1 week was going to be a bit much. We could spend months on just this concept of love. And so we're going to continue this in part two today. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share my screen right now, and we're going to get into it. Um, I am pre-recording this right now. I'm traveling this morning, and so I'm pre-recording this to in case I do not get back home on time due to flight delays or anything like that. And so, if you are watching the pre-recording, please continue to engage as if it is live. This is only a backup in case I do not get home in time for our 11 a.m. start. I thought about moving service back or our study back an hour just to have some breathing room, but instead I decided to pre-record this in case I don't get back home. So again, engage as if it is live. I'm going to pretend and present as if we are live. And so just I'm excited that you're here, and I didn't want to mess up our consistency of gathering at 11 a.m. every Sunday. All right. So again, we are starting or continuing our word study on love. Last week we triangulated the truth by looking at what Yeshua said about love, and we got a lot of divine downloads, insights, and revelations. And so we're continuing that. The opening song for those of you who just got here was Love by Music Soul Child. Go listen to that song and listen to it through the lens of God next time. So replace the word love in the song with God, and it will make a lot more sense to you. Okay. So, with that, we want to welcome anybody who is new to our community. If you are new to the Spiritual Experience family, go ahead and type new in chat. We are so excited to have you. You will see people greet you in the chat, whether you are on Instagram, YouTube, or on Zoom. Thank you for being here. Whatever brought you here, we know that it was for a reason, and we are so excited to have you as part of our community. Our goal here in the Spiritual Experience is to be Christ-like. We've come to the realization that there is a huge difference, unfortunately, between Christ-like and Christian. They used to be one and the same in the beginning, but today they are extremely far apart. And so we recognize that we have to create new language and change our compass to not just being Christian, but to being Christ-like. And yes, in this community, we have Christ-like Christians who recognize that the identity as Christian is not enough, and that's not the true call. The true call is to be Christ-like, right? We also have a lot of people who are unchurched, who have left the church for various reasons, and then we have people who identify as spiritual but still resonate with the message of Christ and seek to be Christ-like as well. So we have a very diverse community, people of various beliefs, and this is what's so beautiful about us is that we are a safe space for people with different beliefs. Yeshua oftentimes said, "How do you interpret it?" And so when we look at the scriptures, we realize and recognize that people will come to different understandings based on how the Father draws them, and that is okay in this space. We can have unity without uniformity, and again, we want the underlying fabric of our community to be love. Our motto, in terms of turning that compass into action, in terms of direction, the compass gives you direction. The motto gives you action or mission. We are building the kingdom inside and out in that order. That order is very intentional. We know that we start within, and then when we change what is within, then our outer experience of life shifts. And so we are here to bring heaven on earth, or build the kingdom inside and out. All right. So again, welcome to all of the new people to the family. We are so excited that you're here. Just real quickly, we have several Bible studies. The first one we have is the Christ-like Conversations, which you are experiencing today, which you're experiencing today, where we do word studies on various topics, like the Father, like heaven, like the kingdom, like love, like sin, forgiveness. These are some of the past word studies that we've done, and you can tap into our community at thespiritualexperience.com/community to go do those word studies on your own. And again, we are aware that when people do the word studies, that everybody comes to their own revelations and insights based on where they're at in their journey and their connection to God and what God reveals to them. But these are fundamental, foundational principles to understanding your theology. I believe that there are over 8 billion religions in the world because each one of us has our own belief system. Even if we're sitting next to each other in a pew, even if we're all here on Zoom, we each have our own relationship with the Father. I'm the oldest of three siblings, and each one of us has a different relationship to our singular Father, right? And so we know that that is unfolding here. We also have our ask and receive sessions. In our ask and receive sessions, we just had our first one recently, and this is where you can come and ask anything you're struggling with in terms of God, Yeshua, being Christ-like in the Bible. This is an open space for us to ask questions. We recognize that this kind of space doesn't appear oftentimes in the traditional church setting, and so we offer that here. We also have Wealth in the Word, where we unlock the financial principles that are in the Bible so that we can apply them into our lives. Yeshua said, "I am come that they might have life and have it more abundantly." And we believe that as children of God, abundance is our birthright. And so we want to step into that. We want to be able to master this thing called money, right? And not let it be a master over us. And so we know that that is critical. And we draw from my book, Rich and Righteous, for that. And then we also have Brothers in the Bible and Sisters in the Scriptures. These are fourth Sundays where we break out by gender, by men and women, and we go study what it means to be a man of God and a woman of God. And so thank you for being here. Just to give you an update on how we operate, we are Bible study focused. There's a lot of entertainment out there and a lot of hoopla and all that. We go straight to the text, and we always start with what Yeshua says, and then we expound from there. On Fridays, we have our New 260 Bible study where we're going through the entire New Testament in a year, not just reading it, we're studying it. So everybody reads 5 chapters a week, and then we go and we study together at 8 a.m. That is actually a Zoom meeting, so you can literally unmute yourself, get on camera, and ask questions there. Right now, we are in Acts. This upcoming week will be Acts 20 through 24. So it's not too late to join in on that. That's at new260.com. On the third Saturdays of the month in Atlanta, as we start to build physical community, we have Bible on the Beltline. And this is where we gather in person in Atlanta on the Beltline. The women also have started the spiritual walk-in talks. And so Sisters in the Scriptures is leading spiritual walk-in talks. And so for the men, you can go to biblebeltline.com. And for the women, you can go to spiritualwalkintalk.com. That's biblebeltline.com and spiritualwalkintalk.com. We have one more stop on the Purpose to Pay tour. We believe that we are all supposed to pick up our cross and walk, and that cross is our purpose. It is what we are here to do, is what we are created to do. And this is one of the greatest ways that we can demonstrate our love for God, is by being obedient to what it created us to do. And so I've been on tour. We started off in Atlanta. We went to Houston, just had an amazing event in Oakland. And our last stop on the tour is in Brooklyn on June 28th. And so if you are in the Northeast and you are unsure of your God-given purpose and how to actually be paid for that so that you can walk in it freely without worrying about money, then I encourage you to pull up for that. So again, that is June 28th in Brooklyn, New York at the Brooklyn Bank. So that website is purposetopaid.com. For those of you interested in getting a copy of Rich and Righteous, who want to unlock the spiritual concepts and the spiritual insights that I've been able to download, divinely download from the Bible around money, then go ahead and grab a copy of Rich and Righteous, Spiritual Secrets to Mastering Money Manifestation in Your Mind. You can get that at richrightnow.com. All right. So, that is it in terms of announcements. I want to get right into I want to continue our study. On love. I want to continue our study on love. Where are we at here? Excuse me. We want to continue our study on love. Actually, two more announcements. One, we want to celebrate all of the women who went through the Acts discipleship training with Sisters in the Scriptures. These are not all of them, about 16 women completed and graduated from that program. Whitney took them through a 4-week process where they actually went through Acts, which is really a history of the early church and how to become a disciple. And they went through that 7 chapters a week, I believe, and for 4 weeks. And it was absolutely powerful. You had to have read in advance of the actual calls. You had to do assignments in advance of the actual calls. And if you didn't do them, you were literally kicked out. But with that kind of discipline, right? If you're going to become a disciple, you have to be disciplined with that kind of discipline. Guess what? Almost everybody. It was like a 92% graduation rate. So these 16 women who actually completed have gone through an amazing transformation in just 1 month. We're going to do that probably 2 to 4 times a year. We may do it biannually or quarterly. So be keep your eyes and ears open for the next one, and we will consider opening it up to men as well. All right. In terms of prayers, we want to channel energy towards one of the young men who we paid for his tuition. His mother was struggling, and we paid for his tuition for his final month of school. And we found out that he was in a car accident recently, and he had a fracture on his skull. Fortunately, he is up and alive and breathing. I know he is a powerful, powerful spirit and soul, and he is here for a reason. And so we just want to send healing energy to him and his mother as they prepare for the summer and as he goes through this healing process. He is doing okay, but we just want to send additional love and prayer energy to him and his healing process. This was a young man, I believe I think he's 9 years old. Goes to a church that we visited for a Bible study, and we heard about his story. We, as a spiritual experience, actually paid for his last month of school as his mother was having some financial difficulties, and then we come to find out now that we built that relationship that he was in a car accident. So thank you for your prayers, and we know that God is healing him in the here and now. All right. In terms of the faith fund, the spiritual experience faith fund, we have about $17,000 in the faith fund right now. You can go see how we've actually used every single dollar that has come into the spiritual experience. You can see how we've used it there. We were able to help a woman last week we put some money towards an engine part that she needed in order to get her car back on the road. You know, you lose a car and it just makes life really, really difficult when you get a big bill like that. And And so we were able to put some money towards it. We didn't do the full thing, but we were able to contribute. And then someone was short on a rent payment this month. And so last week we were able to contribute to them to help fill that gap. This is what we do as a community. That means that if you contributed to the Faith Fund, then you also help these people in this way. And for those of you who do not have the abundance at this moment in time to give to others in this way, that is perfectly fine. Your thought energy, your prayer energy, your love is also sufficient. So I thank you for everybody who has contributed. Again, you can go to the spiritualexperience.com/funds. Is it funds or funds? Let me double check. I think it is. Let me double check. Funds, yes, funds plural. You can go there and see exactly how we spend money. We know that how we circulate money. We know that there has not been a lot of transparency in some of these big organizations, and so we provide a transparency on a week-to-week basis. We've done tons of amazing things, from giving sleeping bags to the homeless in Atlanta, to paying for medication and food for women in Kenya, to helping women on dealing with domestic violence escape, to donating clothes to the homeless. And so if you want to contribute to the Spiritual Experience Faith Fund, you can go to thespiritualexperience.com/give. That is thespiritualexperience.com/give. Just to go back here really quickly, 91% goes out to MANA, meaning community service around health, housing, food, and education. Only 9% comes into the mission, meaning paying for our Zoom account, our domain names, websites, stuff like that. So, and we do that 9% because we tithe. It would be 10%, but we tithe back into the actual organization. So 9% goes to the mission. We try to keep our cost structure very low, so that what you actually give is actually going back to serve not only the larger community, but also members in our community. And so if you would like to give to that, these are the various ways to give. You can do Cash App, you can do Venmo, you can do PayPal, or you can use the go to spiritualexperience.com/give and actually use a regular debit or credit card. I want to thank those of you who have been giving consistently, and even those of you who have started tithing. It is absolutely amazing to see your investment in this vision and into this pool of resources that we can use to support people, so that they aren't thrown off course due to financial issues. But we've also found, and when we did the Ask and Receive part two, we found that every need is not financial, right? Every need that somebody has in order to get back on their feet or to get back in alignment with God is not financial. Some of them are mental, some of them are emotional, some of them are communal, social, etc., and physical. And so we we're just grateful to be able to use all this energy and all this capital that we have, these various forms, to support one another. And we're going to be building this community in a stronger way in Atlanta, but ultimately we want this smaller communities to emerge exactly where you are. We want you to meet in the cities that you're in, support one another, form family, right? Real family, not necessarily based on blood. I do hope that some of y'all get married, but not just based on blood and marriage, but just based on shared consciousness. All right. So that's it for the announcements. I want to get back now into part two of our word study on love. Here are some of the words that we've actually gone through since we've started this work: the Father, God's will, heaven, the kingdom, forgiveness, prayer, sin, and now we are putting together love. And these are some of the most important concepts that shape our God concept. And the reality is, we all don't have the same definitions of them. And so, what we do here in the spiritual experience is we try to, what we call, triangulate the truth. And so we look at the red text, we look at what Yeshua says, we look at how love was used here and here and here to try to get a clear understanding of what love is so that we can actually be that love, right? And so we've done that with some major concepts. And it's really an iterative process. We'll probably do this again because as we go through life, our understanding of love deepens. My understanding of love at the age of 16, listening to R&B, right? Donnell Jones and John B and Music Soul Child and NDRE. My understanding of love at that age was different than my understanding of love today. And last week we explored the various types of love that are out there, in terms of agape love, right? Store, which is familial love, filial, which is friendly, brotherly, sisterly love, and eros, which is romantic love. And I think we've been trained to see love as primarily romantic, but I'm coming to understand that love is greater than that. And while romance is beautiful, in terms of marriage, romance may only make up 10 to 20% of a marriage. These other forms of love, being able to see your partner as a friend and be able to have agape love for them when they do falter, right? These types of love are the types of love that actually sustain long lasting relationships. But again, we're not just talking about love in the context of marriage, we're talking about love in the context of community, friends, family, the larger community, colleagues, strangers, etc., and even enemies. All right. So last week as we went through all the red text in terms of Yeshua speaking about love, we identified that there were five types of love that Yeshua calls or commands us to do. Does anybody remember what they are? Go ahead and chat and type what they are. Type what they are. What are the five types of love that Yeshua commands us to do? The five types of love that Yeshua commands us to do. Okay. Yes. Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, mind, and soul. I said them earlier. I said three of them earlier, right? Love thy neighbor as thy what? As thyself. So it's not just love your neighbor, because we can only love our neighbor to the degree that we love ourselves. If I don't love myself that much, it's going to be very difficult for me to love my neighbor. Now, God, God's love is what pours into us, and we can never love God to the degree that God loves us. In the same way, like when you were a child, you can never love your parents to the degree that they love you. At some point in your journey, that may switch, right? When you actually become caretaker of your parents and they can't love you back in the same way. We learn that true love is not necessarily reciprocal. While we should have reciprocal loving relationships, true love is not always reciprocal. Like my love with Jada is not reciprocal. While she does give to me in different ways, my love is not reciprocal. I pour more love into her than she pours back into me, right? And I don't have expectation of her matching my level of love. Some of you are caretakers and you're pouring love into your elder or someone else, and you don't have any expectation that they reciprocate. So I know that at one stage of my journey, I thought that love was always reciprocal. It must be even, right? And I've come to the realization that true love is actually the harder form of love where there actually is no reciprocity. And this is one of our challenges. Okay. What are the other ones? Love thy enemies. And then this one is subtle, but Yeshua commands as he begins to transition, love ye one another, right? So we have love God, the source of all. We have love self, love ye one another, love your neighbor, which is your community, and love your enemies. And this is a caveat, right? Love your enemies without neglecting self-love. I said it last week, and it may be controversial because the civil rights movement was so powerful, and it was a demonstration of nonviolence. I don't know if it was necessarily a demonstration of love to let people pour milkshakes on you, to beat you, to serve as a mirror for them that they aren't loving. That was not self-loving to those who were doing it. Now, I know they were doing it to try to get larger media attention and more people to see the atrocities that were happening in America, but I think there was a lack of self-love there, and I'm open to seeing that differently. If anybody has any perspective, I'm open to seeing that differently. But I know that well, where I'm at in my journey as we think about turning this world around, right? Because the kingdom, right, is typically opposite to the world. So there must be a revolution if we're going to build the kingdom on the inside and out. There must be a revolution inside of us and a revolution, therefore, outside in the world. But I don't think it's going to look like the way we think it is. We are engaged in spiritual warfare. So it is in the unseen realm. This is why inward is more important than outward, or it precedes outward, right? And so, yeah. So, with that, I want to do some brainstorming together, and I want to ask the question: how do we do this? Okay. So it's one thing to say, "Oh yeah, love God with all thy heart, mind, and soul. Love thyself." What does that mean? Love ye one another. What does that mean? Love my neighbor. What does that look like? And so I want you to imagine that we have a camera and we are taking pictures of people loving God. We're taking pictures of people loving self. We're taking pictures of people loving one another. We're taking pictures of loving your neighbor. We're taking pictures of people loving enemy or even just film, right? So it may not be a specific moment. And so let's go through this together so that we can really get a clear image in our minds of what it looks like to love in these five different ways. All right. So let's start with love of God. What does love of God look like on camera? If you were to see somebody loving God, the source of all, what would you see? All right. Go ahead and type in chat. Go ahead and type in chat. If you were to see somebody loving God, oh yeah, they're loving God right now. What would you see? Because the clearer we see what that actually means and what that looks like, the easier it is for us to do it and be Christ-like. We need to see what it looks like in order for us to align with it and be Christ-like. All right. So loving God, solitude, just taking time with God. Some of y'all don't even kick it with God and only call on God when you have a need. So you and God really aren't friends. You don't spend any time together, right? You're so busy with this thing called life that you don't take any time to actually connect with the source of all life. Plug in your cell phone and make sure that that's charged. You connect to internet wherever you go, but our connection to God can be weak at times, right? What else? Loving God. What does that look like? Spending time in nature, okay? Prayer, study. Good. What else? All right. Good, good. I'm gonna probably aggregate all of these answers. Given that we're masterminding and we're gonna create all these beautiful answers, I'll probably download this chat and aggregate these answers and put them somewhere for us. Okay. Next one, love self. How do you know somebody's loving their self? What do you see when they are loving themselves? Okay, therapy. Self-care. What does self-care mean? Does that mean massages? Is massages loving self? What else? One of my big ones in loving self is play. Sometimes as adults, we get so busy that we don't play anymore and we don't have any joy. We start to take life so seriously. I say that the most dangerous neighborhood in the entire world is adulthood. More people die there than anywhere else. Okay. So play is a form of self-love. Just enjoying life. Being child play is connected to being childlike, right? All right, good, good, good. All right. Oh, nutrition, fitness. Those are also some good ones. All right. What does it look like when we're loving one another, when we're loving family and friends? Listening, showing up. One of the things I had to come to realize, like I used to use the word friend loosely, but I realized that a lot of friendships, especially like in college and things of that nature, and it's okay, they're built on convenience. Oh, we were roommates and now we're friends. But you don't know a true friend until you actually require something inconvenient for them to do. Until there's an inconvenience and they still show up, that's really when you know you have a true friend. Otherwise, it could just be based on convenience. As soon as it becomes inconvenient, oh, they moved across the city, they moved to another state. All of a sudden, we're not connected anymore because it's not convenient anymore. So, the true signature of a friendship, not that you want to force it, but is actually seeing how they operate when it's actually inconvenient. Like you said, you need to move your apartment tomorrow. Who would show up, right? Might be inconvenient for them, but who would actually show up, right? Cool. Loving your neighbor. What does that look like? Where this is your larger community. People you might be acquaintances with, people you may see around. Imagine that you're a part of a church and you see these people, but you might not even know their names, but you consider them part of your larger community. What does loving your neighbor look like? For me, one of the easiest ones is just saying hello, acknowledging people's presence, right? And from doing that, they actually may move into friendship or for what I like to call family. It's a combination of family and friend, but just acknowledging people, being genuinely curious about them and who they are, letting them know that they're seen. Okay. Mentorship, volunteering. This is you contributing to your community. Good. And then when we look at loving your enemies, this is a hard one. Without neglecting self love, what does that look like? For me, it's pretty simple. I think it's forgiveness. That's a way of loving my enemies, and prayer. And I don't have, if I had to list my enemy, I don't really have enemies, but perhaps somebody who's done you wrong, or a group of people who you know is against your friends and family and against your community. How do you send love in their direction? I honestly believe that we have, if love is the answer, I believe that we have to send love and pray for our persecutors, because the reason they're oppressive and persecuting is because they lack love. And if I have an abundance of love and can give, okay, because not everybody has an abundance of love and an overflow. Some people are in the level of self-love right now because they have been hurt and have endured trauma. And so if you are at the level of love where can only focus on self-love right now, that is okay. What I mean is when you do get to a space of overflow, I believe that the only way for us to change darkness and or lack of love is by sending love in that direction. In the same way, if we are light and there's darkness over here, the only way to turn that darkness around is by shedding our light on it. Darkness is simply the absence of light. So if I have an abundance of light, then I can use that to shift darkness. Now I need to make sure that if I'm using it to shift darkness, that it can't burn out my light, because then I become dark, right? So this is why that caveat of loving our enemies without neglecting self-love, without burning out trying to do so, is really, really important. Okay, good. So yeah, I'm gonna aggregate these. Some of them I already have here in case y'all were sleepy this morning. I created some answers already. Let me see, and I'll read these really quickly. Uh, I said this a second ago. That's what I mean by play. So, loving God, one-on-one time, prayer and communion, studying, journaling, gratitude, time in nature, walking in your purpose. I believe is one of the greatest ways to demonstrate your love for God. Create, right? You are a child of the Creator. Creating is a way of showing God your likeness. God is trying to create through you. Sometimes that is your purpose. Sometimes it's a business. Sometimes it's art. Sometimes it's a book. Like, what is God trying to create through you beyond just children? And then the big one is actually you love God by doing the other four below, right? Whatever you've done unto the least of these, you have done unto me. So we actually love God. Yes, we can love God directly just between us and God. That's important. But we also love God by doing the other four below. Okay. And we don't want to neglect that. Love of self, rest. That's a big one. Some of y'all aren't getting enough sleep. Rest, taking the Sabbath, self care, saying no, meditation, therapy, personal affirmations, exercise, nutrition, play, being childlike, vacation, self forgiveness. These are what it looks like to love self. All right. Love ye one another, cook for people, right? That's one of the greatest acts of love is when somebody cooks for you. Hopefully they can cook, but even if they can't, it's still an act of love. Brunches or lunches, like making time to actually go break bread. Like when you think about your top five friends, when's the last time you actually broke bread with them, right? Whether at your home or out, invite them out or over, support them when they have an event, right? Even if it's not something that you're truly interested in, do it because you love them, right? They're running a marathon. You are unsure why people like to run marathons, but go support them and be a cheerleader at the finish line, right? Help them clean or move or babysit for them so that them and their significant other can go out on a date, or they can just have some free time. Give a gift. You see something in the store that you know they would love and you happen to have some extra resources, get it for them, right? As if you were getting it for yourself. Sometimes people just need to be heard. So just listening. Check in. I've been doing this one a lot. Check in, text, and calls. I've been trying to connect with at least four brothers every single week, whether it's a check in text or a call. And the richness that comes out of those interactions is really, really powerful. And then affirmations. When you see a gift, or strengthen them, affirm them. Love your neighbor, volunteer, donate, mentor, clean up the community that you're in, recycle, pray for them, open your doors, invite them into your home. Open doors for people. That's a simple one, right? Just say hello. Pay for groceries. When you're in line and you see somebody struggling and paying for their groceries, genuinely asking, "How are you?" and just sitting there with them, and that ties into listening. And then, as I said before, loving your enemies, forgive them, pray for them, and offer help with boundaries if you can. If you have that capacity and the violation wasn't too great, offering to help. So they made a mistake, they did something to harm you. You have a way of still protecting yourself, but you also have a solution that can help them. This is can be a very powerful interaction. All right. Now we hear Yeshua talk about this idea of living water, and I think this living water really is a metaphor for love. And so I looked at the water cycle. Okay, I looked at the water cycle. Oh yeah, take a screenshot of that. Go ahead and take a screenshot of that, and then I'll take your answers from chat and add it in, and then I'll put it in our community group so that you have a list of things. Now, we never want a list to become performative, like I'm doing this to check off a box. We want love to pour out naturally from our heart and our way of being, and divine ideas in terms of how to love somebody in a specific moment naturally emerge. But now this list will help give you some, this love list is what we can call it, will naturally give you some ways to start looking for ways to love in these 5 ways that we are commanded to by Yeshua. Okay, so everybody got that? Cool. So I was looking at the water cycle and I was like, you know, there there's all this metaphor, and Yeshua was amazing with parables, and I was like, is there a connection here with how love flows, right? And how love works? And I think I discovered one, and this is why I wanted to share this with you and why I broke this up into 2 studies, because we're going into some deeper things here. And so the way the water cycle works, you might have learned this in high school or junior high school. First we have condensation, right? Then we have precipitation, which is rain. Condensation is when the water, it's not water, it's mist basically, gathers in clouds, right? So it's not as physical because obviously planes go through clouds, right? Then precipitation, it starts to formulate as rain, it comes down. Then there are these ways that it gets collected in bodies of water or in plants. There's these bodies that start to hold this water, and then there's evaporation, where that water through heat is goes back up into mist or spirit. And then there's also transpiration, which is when plants are sending that mist, that it's becoming non-physical and going back into kind of the spiritual realm. And then it just continues over and over and over again. And I was looking at some scriptures that actually support this, and I want to walk you through this. So John 4:13-15 says, Jesus answered and said unto her, whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again. This is the woman at the well. But whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. The woman saith unto him, Sir, give me this water that I thirst not, neither come hither to draw. Now, the woman at the well, and this is just coming to me now, she had 5 husbands, right? Because she was fornicating with multiple people. So she was looking for love in the wrong places. She was looking for love in the physical. And he was equating that to her thirst for a deeper form of love. And that is the form of love that God gives us. She was pretty much at the level of romantic love, right? And it might not have been romance. There's might be another form of love that is just pure beastly love, like just pure lust. Yes, there it is, lust. That's just pure. That's not even romance. It's just pure lust. And so she had 5 husbands. And so if we look at it in that way, then this living water can actually be love, right? And so that anchors in this metaphor a little bit, right? So let's look at it now step by step. First, we have precipitation. Falls, aka God's love coming down from heaven to earth. So this is God's infinite love now coming down to us, right? And through us, right? So if we look at Psalm 64, excuse me, 1 through 4. O God, thou art my God. Early will I seek thee. My soul thirsteth for thee. Okay, you see this same theme of thirst. My flesh longeth for thee in a dry and thirsty land where there is no water. So that's really the flesh. The soul, right, is what is actually thirsting. That's the inner, right? But we are in these bodies, which is this dry land to see thy power and thy glory, so as I have seen thee in the sanctuary, because thy loving kindness is better than life. My lips shall praise thee. Thus will I bless thee while I live. I will lift up my hands in thy name. Right? So it's really our soul that thirsts. And I think our soul runs off of this energy, this fuel called love. Not only receiving love, but also giving love. Right? This is why the soul is regenerative and it doesn't burn out, is because it wins not only by receiving, but it also wins by giving, right? So normally in systems, there's loss, there's gain, and there's loss. But the way the soul operates, I think it it wins on both. So there is no loss, right? We also know that energy is never created or destroyed, right? Except in the beginning, energy is never created or destroyed. It just is. So there actually is no loss in the system when we operate in love. So this is God's love coming down to us, right? Freely, right? Rain comes down freely. The day they start charging for rain, we in trouble. They're already charging they're already charging for water, right? Oh, you can't even see this bottle. They're already charging for water. So the day they start charging for rain, we are in trouble. Okay. So the next step is collection. When this rain comes down, where does it collect to? Right? Water gathers into various bodies. You hear that? Water gathers into various bodies. For water, it is oceans, rivers, and plants, right? And then it is spread throughout the earth, right? Water gathers into various bodies and is spread throughout the earth. In the same way, we receive this rain, it comes down on us unconditionally, right? And then then it's distributed by you to people and places that need it. Okay. So it's received by you and then distributed by you. So again, we get the joy of receiving God's love, but that love is not just for ourselves. Just like our gifts, right? Our gifts will make room for us. The reason they make room for us because our gifts are not for ourselves. We get to unwrap the gift and develop the gift and hone the gift, but then our responsibility in order for it to make room for us is to give that gift to others. So this is God loving others through us. I say this all the time. What if Whitney Houston was just a shower singer and a car singer? We would have been robbed of her gift, right? But she took that gift, realized it was powerful, that it could make room for her, and then she started selling CDs and concerts and was one of the best singers in the world. That gift was not just for her, and your gift is not just for you, right? So, but we get blessed by knowing the awareness that God gave us a gift, right? That God has given us love, and then we also get blessed by sharing that love with others. So that is the collection process. It is collected into our bodies. This love is collected into our bodies, okay? Then we go into Genesis 2, 4 through 6. These are the generations of the heaven and the earth when they were created. In that day, the Lord God made earth and the heavens, and every plant of the field before it was in the earth, and every herb of the field before it grew. For the Lord God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. But there went up a mist from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. So what does that sound like? That sounds like evaporation or transpiration, right? So this was when the liquid, this water that is collected in these bodies becomes gaseous or vapor, right? And this is where love is lift for us. The metaphor is that this is when love is lifted up to God or source as spirit and praise. This is when we're lifting God up in love by sharing that love with others, okay? Or going directly and just thanking God. God, I love you so much. Thank you, God. I know you love me so much. I love you too, right? I'm just so grateful. Gratitude is a way to send that love back up to God. This love that you received freely, this rain that came down on you freely. Another song we could have opened up with today is Rain Down on Me, right? That's just freely God giving to us. And then we send that love back up through evaporation or transpiration. And even in the word transpiration, okay, not transportation, transpiration has the word spirit in it. So that is the process of physical becoming spirit, of matter becoming spirit, right? Of substance becoming spirit. And we know the process of water in the three states is has this physical dense state, which is ice. Then it has this liquid state where we just call it water, right? But it's really liquid because all of it is water, right? All of it is H2O. It's just operating at different frequencies. Physical when it's frozen, liquid, right? When it's at a certain temperature, and then when it's heated up, it becomes gaseous. But at the end of the day, it's still all H2O. Okay. So it's the same substance in different states. So then we have Psalm 1:3. And ye shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of what? Of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. Right? And so here we have condensation. Vapor becomes water again, and spirit is made flesh. So this is a beautiful, beautiful process. If we look at the water cycle, if we look at nature, because God is deeply encoded in nature, especially nature where we haven't destroyed the cycles of nature, we can see how God operates in terms of how it created certain systems. And so I saw this. I wanted to go deep on it, and I wanted to share this with you. And I hope that it blesses you as you experience rain, as you drink water, as you drink water. I hope that this makes you think of God's love and how beautiful it actually is. Okay? So, from this, I get that love is cyclical, not reciprocal. Everybody type that in. Love is cyclical, not reciprocal. As divine distributors of love, we source from the most high source and distribute love to those in low, dry places. I'll repeat that. As divine distributors of love, we source from the most high source, right? We get it from the source, right? We are a resource for the source, and we distribute love to those in lower, because what? Water flows towards it flows down, right? We distribute it. We distribute love to those in low, dry places. So this is connected to what we talked about before is loving our enemies when we have the capacity to. Okay. If I was hurt by an enemy and I don't have the capacity of self-love because I was hurt by the enemy, I'm not in position to love back. I'm not in position to love my enemy. But once my cup is full and overflowing again, some of that love, rather than it just running over, I actually need to pour that love somewhere into someone, into something. All right. So I know this is a hard teaching for some people because you're looking for reciprocal love. And Yeshua talks about there's no payoff for reciprocal love because you've already got your reward. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. Okay, we're even. There's no, it's a beautiful thing to experience. And I do believe you need anchoring relationships that are reciprocal so that you can go out and love in this way. But you've already gotten your payback when you're in a reciprocal relationship. There's no benefit, right? I think Yeshua puts it, I think the scripture is here in the teaching. Um, uh, even the sinners love the sinners. Like he said it, I think it's here, but it's basically in general, it's easy for you to love people who love you. It's harder for you to love people who don't love you, right? So wow, shoot, our relationships with people who we think love us and that we're in love with, those seem hard in a lot of cases, right? Like, man, I ain't figured out how to be in a relationship where we're trying to love each other, right? Even that could be challenging. So then to add on the challenge that I'm supposed to love people who don't love me, it's a high call. I want you to recognize that it is a very high calling, but it is a life journey. So don't judge yourself if you aren't there yet. I'm not there yet, okay? But what you do know from nature, when we go back to nature, is this about trees. Trees do not eat of their own fruit. An apple tree has never ate an apple. They produce apples. They're called an apple tree, but the things that they produce are not for them. So we are supposed to be exporters of our gifts. And yes, trusting that we will get what we need, we'll be able to import what we need from the Most High and through this divine cycle that starts to unfold when more and more beings are operating in this state of love. But trees do not eat their own fruit. So what is the lesson in that? Okay? What is the lesson in that? In the hood, this is how we say it. Don't get high off your own supply. Don't get high off your own supply. That's what they say in the hood, right? This is how nature operates. So this love and these gifts, this gift of love that was given to you, some is meant for you, but not so that you keep it and you're getting high off of self-love, then you become a narcissist. And what I'm seeing in our community right now is there are a lot of people who are stuck in self-love. I know that sounds crazy, but what I mean by stuck in self-love is like, oh, it's about me, it's all about me, this and that. And they never break free from that to be able to share love and exchange love freely and openly with others. And so self-love is masking their unforgiveness. Self-love is masking their hate. Self-love is masking their trauma. Now, self-love from the purest state is going to heal those things, but self-love is not the end game. Self-love is not the end game. It's part of the game. It's a key step in the game, but it is not the end game. Again, a tree does not eat of its own fruit. We are here to actually share love and exchange love with other people. Okay? So, um, so Acts 20:35, speaking of this, says, it is more blessed to give than receive. We receive from God. We love receiving from God. But the true blessing is in being able to give of what we have received, trusting that we will not be depleted or empty because the source that we source from is not a source of man, it is a source that is infinite. This is why we can continue to love as children of God. We can continue to love at the level that we love. People don't understand how we have this capacity to love. Some of y'all don't understand how grandma was able to love in the way that she was because she wasn't sourcing her love from other human beings. While other human beings did love her back, her true source was from God, and she was able to multiply and be fruitful and multiply that love and share it and spread it with those who needed it. I know I've always had a affinity in my heart for foster youth. I started doing work with foster youth when I was in college, and man, knowing even though my parents were divorced, knowing that I came from a community and a family of a lot of love, and knowing that they were lacking love, this is this is one of the cups that I poured my overflow of love into, and it was and still continues to be some of the most rewarding work that I'm able to do is when I'm able to help someone close that gap. But remember, of myself I can do nothing. It's the Father in me that doeth the works. So it's not my love that's actually healing them, but it is God loving them through me that is actually doing the healing process, right? It is not my love. My human love, my fleshly love comes with conditions, but it is the unlimited, unconditional agape love of God that actually is able to heal others. All right. And so, as we continue this metaphor of fruit, right? Here are the fruits organized by the amounts of water or love that they actually hold. Some of my favorite fruits are at the top: strawberries, watermelons, grapefruit, cantaloupe. These are the water content of those fruits. So again, when we talk about the bodies, right? When we talk about precipitation and collection, the water comes down into bodies, but those bodies aren't just the rivers and the ocean. The plants and the fruits actually receive and hold that water in them, and then then when we eat of them, we are able to consume what they call structured water. There's people on Instagram saying, "Oh, this water ain't enough." Okay, you're supposed to drink first. You get this whole thing. You need to drink this much, 8 glasses of water a day. Then, oh, this water ain't enough. You need structured water, and structured water is the natural water that is already inside of fruits. Okay, so lesson here is that trees and plants don't eat their own fruit. Okay. The fruits of the Spirit, which are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self control, from Galatians 5 22 33, are for you to bless others. While it is nice for you to have the fruits of the Spirit, the real goal of you having the fruits of the Spirit is for you to bless others, right? Trees give fruit unconditionally. Freely you have received, freely give. Matthew 10:8. Trees don't judge who they give fruit to, right? Whoever's showing up and is in hunger at the moment is able to take from that tree, right? Trees also give shade unconditionally. Doesn't care if you just murdered somebody or you just were Mother Teresa. Trees give fruit and they give shade equally, okay? And you must stay in receiving mode in order to give from your gift. All right. And so Matthew 7:16 through 20 says, Ye shall know them by what? By their fruit. And we want our fruit to have high water content. We want our fruit to have high degrees of love. If we go back to the fruits of the Spirit, look at the degree of love in the fruits of the Spirit. Not only is the first fruit of the Spirit love, right, itself, but then love manifested in various ways as joy, as peace, patience, kindness. These are all additional reflections of love: faithfulness, gentleness, self control. These are all different aspects and reflections of love. So the love content, the water content of these other fruits is very high. Of course, with love itself being the most, um, most, the high, having the highest water content. Love itself having the highest and purest water content, but then these other fruits of the spirit mimicking and being very close because they are enriched and rooted in love. Is this making sense, y'all? So if we go back to Matthew 7:16 through 20, ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree, right, which is you, bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore, by their fruit ye shall know them. So by the water content of our fruit, right? And how people experience from us, how they engage with us, how they eat from us, how we feed, right? Remember Yeshua commanded Peter, feed my sheep, feed my sheep, feed my sheep, right? How we feed the world through the fruit of our spirit and the fruit of our works, right? Actually is our demonstration of love. It is the way that we distribute love divinely to others. Okay. So I want to close out with this second divine download that I got. So we started with the water cycle, right? We started with the 5 ways of love, then we got into the water cycle, but then as I was doing even more reflection on love, I got this process. Okay. So, for whatever reason, when we come into this physical body and this flesh, right, this cup, this vessel, we get broken. Life breaks us in various ways, all kinds of trauma. And while at birth we were full of love in our natural state, right? Even just being held in the water, in the love of our mother's womb and protected and cared for in that way, when we come out into the world, typically something happens. They call it childhood trauma. Some of you didn't have childhood trauma, but you had trauma in other ways. And trauma is not just molestation and things of that nature. Anything that triggers the nervous system into fight, flight, or fawn, right? Or flee, a fight, flight, or a fawn, right? Is what I consider trauma. So if you woke up in the middle of a house fire and that triggered your fight or flight or fawn nervous system, then that can be trauma for people. There's people who remember those moments, right? And so trauma manifests itself in many different ways. Poverty, gunfire, these things can be trauma. A car accident can be trauma. Okay. So life just happens. And so now this vessel, this perfect vessel that we were given, ends up cracked. And so the love, the water that was actually in that vessel ends up starting to leak, right? It starts to leak, right? And now you were not loved enough as a child, or you were hurt by people who love you, or just life in general. Perhaps it wasn't a person for you. Perhaps it was just something about life. And when you looked at life, you said, God hurt me, because God is the orchestrator of this thing called life. So we end up in this state of lack or loss of love, right? And out of that, we get I'm not loved or lovable, because we start to feel empty. So Matthew 22:37-40 says, Jesus said unto them, Thou shalt love thy Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind. This is the first and greatest commandment, and the second is like unto it, that thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the laws and the prophets, right? So when we truly get there and we start to form a relationship with God, we don't blame and we don't point fingers, and we look to a source of love outside of man, outside of our parents, outside of men, outside of women, right? Outside of friends. We look to an infinite source of love. Now, this is how we get into the state of self love. But remember, sometimes we can get stuck in self love and think that that is it. But it's okay if you're in a state of self love and and you are fully aware that you do not have the capacity to love anybody else at this moment in time. It's just not the final step. Okay. So self love is when you come into the awareness that I am love. You now tapped into a source that is not man made, right? You tapped into a source of love that is not man made, and now God love is pouring into you and onto you. So you're seeing yourself. Self love for me is when you are seeing yourself as God sees you. When you are seeing yourself as God sees you, and now you are whole, you don't feel broken anymore. You feel like a complete vessel. You fix the brokenness and you realize God's infinite love, and you fill your own cup. You start to fill your own cup, right? So this is self love. Now, when you stay in a state of self-love for a period of time, then your cup runs over, and there's only so much capacity that you have for self-love, and now there's overflow, right? This is leftover love, and you are able to um pour into others. Okay. Okay, you are able to pour into others. You love yourself so much and are able to love thy neighbor as thyself. So this is leftover love able to be poured into other people. Right? Is this making sense, y'all? And you can start to think about, what state am I in right now? Am I in this state of lack and loss of love? Right? And there's no judgment of where you are on your journey. In fact, we probably go through this journey cyclically a couple times in this experience of life. You experience it with your parents, and then you might experience it in a marriage, and you might experience it in this way. So it's not just like a progressive thing, it's more of a cyclical thing. Are you in the state of self-love? Are you in state 3, which is overflow love, where I am loving? So remember, self-love is I am love. Now I am loving, meaning that I have the capacity to give love, right? And Ephesians 5:25 through 27 says, husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it, that he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word, that he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having a spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. And when we're loving from the purest place possible, it is holy and without blemish. And so this is what Christ-like love looks like. Okay. So now as we get into state four, right? Now we get into reciprocal love. And reciprocal love is a beautiful thing, but you've heard me say it a couple of times. Love is cyclical, not necessarily reciprocal. Okay. True love is cyclical, not necessarily reciprocal. So we know that because we are able to source from a place that is not man-made, that we are tapped into an infinite source, which then gives us the capacity to love. And I do have a deep prayer for all of you, is that at some point you experience the love that you've given to others. I know there are many of you out there, and you can type me in chat. Type me in chat if you have yet to experience the love you think you've given in the world. Type me in chat if you have yet to experience the love you think you've given to others in the world. My prayer for you is that that happens. Yes, you are experiencing it from God, right? But I know some of you want to experience it from another human being. And I pray that you find that kind of relationship. And it does not have to be a romantic relationship, but I pray that I've had it in mentors. I've had it in mentors. Um, there's a few people that I can think about where I've had what I consider godly love. It's been mostly mentors, godly love, right? So stage four is reciprocal 50-50 love. We are loving each other. Now, what's beautiful about this is that when I'm low and you are high, you pour some of your love in me to help me fill up. And then when I'm high and you're low, because we're connected, I'm able to fill you up when when you're down, right? So now you want to share your love and be loved the way you love others. Okay. This is a beautiful, beautiful state to be in. And we have some scriptures that show this. John 13:34 through 35 says, a new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another as I have loved you, that ye also love one another. But this shall all by this shall all men know that ye are my disciples, if you have love one another. Luke 6:32-36. If you love those who love you, yes, this is what I was talking about earlier. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners love those who love them. And if you do good to those who are good to you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners do that. And if you lend to those whom you expect repayment, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners, expecting to be repaid in full. But love your enemies, do good to them, and lend to them without expecting to get anything back. Then your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High, because He is kind to the ungrateful and wicked. Be merciful and just as your Father is merciful. That's a hard teaching, family. The love, man, I don't know if I should say this. The love that you're exchanging with your significant other is not the most high love. It is a practice ground, and it is a space for you to stay in a state of loving until, yes, until you are able to go out and pour into those who lack love. So I'm not saying that intimate, reciprocal 50-50 relationships are not needed. They are needed, because you need a base to plug back into. You can always go to source, but also experiencing it on the human level is really, really important. And even those reciprocal relationships can be challenging, right? But if there is reciprocity in any way, she does this at the house and you do this. She takes care of the inside, you take care of the outside, this and that. There's no reward there. There's stability there, but there's no reward there. And it is an essential space for you to be able to rest in until, until You actually have to go love at a higher level. Matthew 5:43 through 44. You've heard that it has been said, Thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, and do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. So that loving relationship, the reciprocal relationship that you have, is supposed to help you get into a state of agape love. So now that we are both in self love and we're connected and we have support, when I slip out of self love or you slip out of self love, we pour back into each other. Now both of our cups are overflowing. Together, we are overflowing. And the leftover love, we are able to pour into other people as a unit because we have now become one. I may even change this image and actually merge these cups into one cup because they're not separate anymore. They've now become one bigger vessel for God to pour into, and therefore the overflow is greater, and they are able to share that love with others. So now you want to share the godly love that you have in this reciprocal relationship with those who don't have it yet. This is the call, family. So I'm going to walk through it one more time. There is lack and loss of love. We come here as perfect beings. God is perfect, so God creates perfect. This whole idea of I was born a sinner, God does not make mistakes, right? So you came perfect, but this life, this world, this physical experience has limitations that God does not have. That is one of the compromises that we made. God is unlimited, right? The spirit is unlimited. Your spirit, the Christ in you is perfect, whole and complete. But the physical has limitations. We have aging limitations, we have physical limitations, right? We have worldly limitations being in this physical realm. So in that, people err, sin, make mistakes, and there is trauma that occurs, right? So now we go into I'm not loved or lovable. Then, in order to get out of that, we have to start sourcing love from a place that is infinite, right? Not from man, not from the physical world, right? By doing so, we are able to heal, fix the broken cup and heal, and then we're able to now fill that cup up with the love of God, right? But we're not supposed to get stuck in self love. It's a beautiful thing when you've seen somebody go from broken to self love, but it's not the final state. So once we get to a space of I am love, after that, we want overflow love. So I am loving. And so I love myself so much that I'm able to now pour into other people. Then I want to share and experience the love that I've given to others with somebody else. And now I'm in reciprocal love. And it doesn't always have to be 50-50, but it's a reciprocal love. We are loving each other. So I get to experience the love that I give to others with an individual. Okay. But even then, that is not the final state. There's no payoff for that because there's an equal exchange happening. Ultimately, that increases our capacity to go out into the world as one, as a union, right? And actually love at a greater level and demonstrate what agape love looks like. Okay. Was that good, y'all? All right, beautiful. So, with that, over the past 2 weeks, we've done this word study on love, and here are some of the findings. Okay. We are called to give up or sacrifice worldly things we love for God. We are called to love God, ourselves, one another, our neighbors, and our enemies. Those are the 5 commands from Christ. We are called to love those who loving those who love you is the easy part. I know some of y'all relationships are difficult. I have difficulty in my relationships as well. Okay. But that is the easier form of love when you have 2 people who are trying to love each other. Okay. It is hard to love 2 things at once, whether they are opposites or close. And so we actually have to start to put and prioritize the things that we say we love so we know what actually is reign supreme. Love is made visible through action, not words. Some of us have been gamed up, right, with lip service around love, but it is demonstrated through action, through fruit, right? The fruits of the Spirit have to manifest themselves and become visible. Love expects nothing in return. It's actually not reciprocal, it is cyclical. Okay? It's actually not reciprocal, but it is cyclical, right? But it is cyclical. But the cyclical nature of love is not that you're going to get it back from the person that you gave it to. Because typically, us as greater vessels are pouring into people who are broken or have smaller vessels or smaller capacities to love. But we get it back from the Most High, just like the water cycle. Okay. Forgiveness increases love and or is one of the greatest demonstrations of love. We can be so focused on following the law that we forget to do it and other things in and with love. This is what Yeshua was warning the Pharisees and the Sadducees about. You're so focused on the law that you have missed the mark because the law is supposed to be rooted in love. Love causes you to give naturally. You don't have to be compelled or convinced. So even though we created a love list, we don't want that to become performative. Oh, I checked off this list. We actually want love to flow out naturally. When some of the best gifts you've received and that you've given flowed naturally and they were unique to that person and to that moment, right? Love allows someone into your secret places. Love allows someone into your secret places. So throughout the Bible, when they talk about sex, right? What do they say? He knew her. He knew her, right? It's not that they wanted to take that out because there's genocide, suicide, there's all kinds of stuff in the Bible, right? But it was defining love as an intimacy where you truly know somebody and you know them as yourself. Like for those of you who are in intimate relationships, you actually have signed up to get a master's degree in your partner. You want to know them so well that you know them as you know yourself. That is love. You're able to anticipate their needs. You are able to see and observe their nature. You're able to observe where they're at, right? You're able to see their changes. You are in a master's program with your partner. Okay. You are getting a master's degree in them, and they are getting a master's degree in you. You are studying one another. Okay. Love is in us. So we talk about where is love? Love is in us. How you love reveals whose and who you are. You will know them by their fruits. So how you love reveals whose and who you are. Listening and obedience are prerequisites for love. God's love is unconditional. Okay. Some people say, no, it's not. And we look at the Old Testament. So when Jada is operating out of alignment, the first thing I say to her, my love for you has not changed. Okay. But in this moment, I have to hold you accountable, right? I have to discipline you. So I let her know out the gates, my love has not changed. So if you think that daddy's love is shifting based on how you're behaving, that is not true. And I want to get that off the table right away. My love for you has not changed. Okay. But I do have to discipline you in this moment. Okay. Because as children, we can think that our parents' love is changing based on how we're behaving. But when you're, for those of you who are parents, you get this. Your love does not fluctuate based on how the child behaves. Your love is unconditional, but yes, your countenance and your level of discipline may have to shift based on the behavior, but that does not mean your love has changed. But as children, we can look up and perceive that our parents' love has changed when it really hasn't. Okay. Daddy doesn't love me. Mommy doesn't love me. Not true. Okay. Love looks like celebrating other success, even if it means them leaving you, right? So this was Yeshua was talking about I'm leaving, and you should be happy that I'm leaving because it means I'm growing, right? And then there's some of you who have to release relationships right now in love because you know it's actually best for you and for the other person. Not that there's any enmity between you two, but because the release, them either going to a new experience in life or whatnot, you know it's actually best for them. And so sometimes we have to celebrate others' success, even if it means them leaving us. Love is giving of yourself and your life to someone, even to the death of the egoic, separate self, and in rare cases, physical death. So in songs and in poems, oh, I'll die for you. Rarely are you ever going to find somebody in a position where they actually have to die for you. Okay. The true death is the death of the egoic separate self in the name of the us, in the name of the we, in the name of the larger I. Okay. We have seen that you can be hated for being loving. It is so countercultural to this world. The kingdom is literally the opposite in many cases of the world. And so you can actually be hated for being loving. Okay. Love is a vasodilator. And a vasodilator is a substance, typically a medication, that causes blood vessels to widen, right? So love widens the flow of God to you and through you. When you love someone, you also get and when you love someone, right? You also get who loves them. So when Yeshua is saying, if you love me, you'll love if you love me, you love the one who sent me, right? That when you love someone, you get who loves them as well. So your love is actually increased in that way. Um, and we have overcorrelated love with romance. True love has little to do with romance. All right. The other things that we came to in week one, self-defense. Self-defense is self-love. Self-defense is self-love. Love is cyclical, not reciprocal. Some relationships are not meant to be reciprocal, and those teach you love and how to be loved. Parent to child, caretaker, volunteer, mentor, leader, pastor. These love is not reciprocal in those relationships, but they teach you love and how to be loved by something other than man. How to, yes, some of us were temporarily in abusive or lopsided relationships to, okay, listen very carefully, teach us self-love, right? And two, teach them unconditional love. For those of you who have been in those situations, you were never given more than you can bear. You were chosen for that call. I pray that you're no longer in that situation, but to provide some perspective, that relationship was to teach you self-love and that you cannot abandon self-love for the love of others, right? There's a sequence: love of God, love of self, love one another, love neighbors, love enemies. There's a sequence, okay? The cup has to be full at each of those stages in order to get to the next stage. So we cannot abandon self-love for love of others. So that's what that relationship was to teach you. But it was also to teach them unconditional love because you had a greater capacity to love than they did at that time. Okay? Marriage is a space to practice love as two become one, but oneness is not supposed to just stop there. Friendship is a powerful demonstration of love because, whoops, I'll cut this off. We talked about friendship and Yeshua even calling the disciples friends at the end of his ministry. Friendship is a powerful demonstration of love because there is no contract or obligation or expectation. You are simply loving just because. Feeding God's sheep, right, who can't feed themselves is love. Trees don't eat of their own fruit. We talked about this last week. The currency of the kingdom of God is the love of God. The currency of the world is money. Love makes the world go round, not money. Love is when you do something with no expectation of reward or reciprocity. Again, love is not reciprocal. We've defined love as, oh, I want to be in a 50-50 relationship. I want to be in this reciprocal relationship. And yes, it is cyclical, but it's not reciprocal. You do not always get back the love that you give from the person that you gave it to. God loves you through people, and you love people through God's love. And if God is love, then anything you ask in my name means anything you ask in the name of love shall be given unto you. That is our word study on love. There's a lot to unpack there. We might have to just run this replay back next week because this is the most critical concept in the entire text. Love. Religion has moved the mark to it just being about salvation. But if we look at Christ's words, love is central. Not just God's love to us, which actually affords us salvation, but once we have that, God is asking us to love in the way that it loved us, that it loves us, not loved past tense, that it loves us. That is the true call. Okay. So I'm going to leave you with this song that I learned in one of the churches that I went to in Los Angeles. It is a simple song. It's elementary school, but it's a mantra that you can keep with you to remember and anchor this message in throughout your week. And it's called I Love Myself So Much. Okay? And I'll tell you how it goes. I love myself so much, so I can love you so much, so you can love you so much, so you can start loving me. All right, sing that with me. I love myself so much, so I can love you so much, so you can love you so much, so you can start loving me. One more time. I love myself so much, so I can love you so much, so you can love you so much, so you can start loving me. All right. So, with that, I want you to take a moment to write down your new definition of love. We spent 2 weeks here. You had an original definition that you wrote a week ago based on your understanding before we did this word study. And I want to give you a moment to write down a new definition now. Go ahead and share it in chat. Go ahead and share your new definition in chat. If you have it, 20 more seconds. Okay. Then finally, how will you apply today's study to your life? How will you apply today's study and your new definition of love to your life? Where do you have opportunity to grow and expand? This is what I want you to think about throughout this week as we seek to be more Christ-like. With that, I want to say thank you so much for being part of my spiritual experience and allowing me to be part of yours. I will see you next week. Wishing you a blessed day. Peace.